Tuesdays with Dr. T on the Wake Up Show here at WIDU Studios in the Cape Fear region, broadcasting throughout the Cape Fear. We just heard from R.J. Weber with regards to Senate Bill 496. And we're going to discuss next the budget. In 3 days, Washington will either remain open or close its doors. Big discussions today about the budget and how do we address the budget in our country. And, Dad, the budget is $4.4 trillion for this year. There's a budget deficit of $2.2 trillion in revenue, taxpayer revenue. How are we going to make up $2 trillion? Do you have any suggestions?
Let's hear from the expert.
You hear from the expert?
Okay.
Honestly, I mean, they're discussing, the Republicans and Democrats today are going to get together and discuss, the difference of $30 or $60 billion. $30 or $60 billion doesn't touch the current budget deficit, let alone the national deficit of $14 trillion. Healthcare is a big part of that. If you look at the budget as a pizza pie, $900 billion of that is coming from Medicare and Medicaid. In fact, if you look at the budget as a whole, maybe we can get my dad to hold that up, show the cameras that. Hold it that way. You can look at the budget, and we're showing this on TV, we're taping for TV. $900 billion Medicare and Medicaid, $900 billion Social Security, $900 billion in defense spending. That takes up almost, what is that? Almost the entire pie. So where are they going to begin with the cuts? 30 or 60 billion? The Republicans and Democrats are discussing how do they cut 30 or 60 billion. But our long-term problems are that the entire budget is 2.2 trillion this year in the whole, which is going to add to our national deficit. So let's talk to the expert we have on the line, and we're proud to have our next speaker. He's at the University of Methodist University here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Professor McDonald, professor of economics. He teaches the MBA program at Methodist University and also in undergrad health administration. Professor McDonald, welcome to the show.
Pleased to be with you, Dr. Nelson. One correction, I don't teach economics. I teach health administration. You put 10 economists in a room and you get 12 different answers. We try to be a little more specific.
It's the same situation with chiropractic.
Amen.
Now, Professor, tell us, if you can, this huge deficit that our representatives in Washington are going to discuss today. Representative Paul Ryan is going to introduce the Republican proposal to cut $4 trillion over the next 10 years. But honestly, when you look at the budget, $900 billion in Medicare and Medicaid, how is that addressed? How can we possibly address that issue?
Well, we're addressing it in different ways. It's going to be a long, lengthy process. It's taken many years to get us in this mess, and it's not going to be something that the Republican Party nor the Democratic Party is going to change their stances in Washington in one session and fix it. What they're doing is approaching health care, as you're aware, in a number of different ways by making organizations be more accountable. The Health Care Reform Act that's just been passed and now being implemented, and you'll see some vast changes in that, but we hope many of those things are the way we're going to address at least stopping this 2.5 times the consumer price index of health care versus everything else. Health care continues to grow, and how do we fix it? We incrementally decrease and be more efficient and effective. For example, why in the world would I go to Dr. Smith down the street, have an x-ray, he refer me to the orthopedic surgeon, have another x-ray? Why not let those two x-rays stand, just do one? Why do we have to double those things up? Because our systems don't talk to one another. They can't send that x-ray from the primary care practice or emergency room to the orthopedic guy because the systems don't interact. We've got to do a better job doing those things.
Well, we see the problems with private insurance, and that was the big argument against the public option. I mean, last year, let's face it, Blue Cross and Blue Shield showed a $210 million profit. They returned $157 million to 200,000 policyholders. That's nearly $400 million in earnings. And yet we see people without insurance. We don't see any broadening of services. We don't see any inclusion of those that can't afford insurance. So, we had this discussion last week with the Commissioner of Insurance at the Department of Insurance, and his take on it was that his control over the auto insurance industry in this state has resulted in lowest insurance rates, the 8th lowest insurance rates in the union. but yet his control over the insurance companies is not. He doesn't have the same sort of control. In other words, there's very few competing companies in the state of North Carolina, and if left up to their own accord, will they take these people off of Medicare? Can they afford the health care options that may be delivered in 10 years under Ryan's plan, or will it just add to the ongoing problem? I mean, at some point, isn't the problem that the insurance rates are so high and the cost of insurance is so high, and yet we don't see a reinvestment in policies? We see profit margins. Last year we had this discussion over the public option, and I reported that there's $3.3 trillion vested all over the world from the insurance companies in this country. So at the end of the day, the insurance companies aren't starving. They're showing record profits, but yet it's not affecting those that are uninsured.